Today's conversation is about something simple but incredibly powerful: gratitude. Not as a cliche, not as a forced positivity, but as something that genuinely shifts the way we think, feel, and experience our lives. And my guest today is Brenda Knight, award-winning publisher, author, and co-founder of Books That Saves Lives, who also writes under the pen name Becca Anderson. Her newest book, Badass Gratitude: Affirmations for Slaying Your Way to Contentment, explores how small daily practices and gratitude, mindfulness, affirmations, and intentional thinking can create meaningful change, not just emotionally, but in the way we move through life itself. And what I love about this conversation is that we go beyond surface level positivity and really explore how gratitude impacts our perspective, our nervous system, our relationships, and the patterns we unconsciously live from every day. So welcome, Brenda. I'm excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, gratitude is one of those words we hear all the time, but I think most people underestimate how powerful it actually is. Why do you think gratitude has become such an important practice right now? And why do so many people struggle to truly embody it?
I started seeing like a slow uptick in gratitude, like in I would say, late 90s. And I will say that I think Oprah helped. I remember getting like the very first O magazine, because anyone in book publishing pays attention to Oprah, right? And the very first one on the cover, it said like how to have an attitude of gratitude. And I had already been like thinking about gratitude because we're publishing to it already. Um, but like I just was thinking like we're all so crazy busy. There's so much stress in the world. Can even I was sort of skeptical, can this really make a difference? So I started having a daily gratitude journal like that year, I believe. And in some cases, I'm sure this is true for you and your listeners, like you don't have time to like sit down and have like a whole big, gratitude hour with yourself. So maybe you can just take a moment and think about three things you're grateful for. And actually that sort of stopping and just being for a moment makes a huge difference. And we can all come up with at least three. And usually just by doing that, you can come up with even more.
Yeah, and I love where you said you started with an attitude of gratitude, but I believe when what you're saying is you're putting pen to paper. It's more than an attitude. You're actually in the embodiment of it. You're doing something to write it down because, I mean, honestly, to be clear, like you can have a certain attitude about something, but it doesn't actually mean that you really are that way.
Very true. Yes. I mean, I have known, I actually came up with like a term for it because my career started at HarperCollins and I got the honor of working with people like Paulo Coelho and Marianne Williamson and even like the Dalai Lama and just major spiritual leaders and thinkers. But not all of our authors were that way. And I came up with the term the wounded healer because I
Mm.
noticed, like, after like the first couple of years, like the author that had the most to say about like relationships and love hadn't been in a relationship for years. The person that wrote about codependence was the most codependent. So I realized, well, actually, they really know the subject very well. And so they're actually writing from their own need. And it actually made the books like even more important, more insightful. And in many cases, they were the very best sellers, the ones written by the wounded healers.
Yeah, I think that there's a really powerful thing to understand that, the writing process and writing things down, it's a cathartic thing. And usually I always tell people we're working on my fifth book right now. And it's like, you write it for yourself first, right? Like I'm writing it for myself and then hopefully that process and as it comes out and the things that I learned and all of these things that I think that I'm going to share that then actually it do transform to another space. So when you were writing, but you're a little different because you had your badass gratitude that just came out, but you've been practicing gratitude for years.
I have been,
Yeah.
yes, because what really clicked for me actually is when I started doing morning intention setting. And that was because I went to an event or actually a weekend conference in Denver, Colorado some years ago and got to meet and hear a presentation and workshop by an author that was talking about setting intentions and the power of that to manifest what you wanted in your life. And it caught me at the right moment. I think I was in between relationships, needed something needed was ready for something new. So I just grabbed onto that idea and every morning, like literally before I get up, I'm still laying in my bed and I set my intentions for the day. You know, what I hope for. I set an intention about being on this podcast with you because I'm very excited about it. I wanted it to be, meaningful for you and for me and any listeners and for people to really get something out of it and be uplifted. Um, and so I started setting intention then every morning before I literally even, I'm still laying down flat in
Hmm.
my bed and I'm setting those intentions. And that really worked for me. And so, and then part of that is to be grateful for what you have, to think about what you have instead of what you don't have. So literally you are starting your morning and your day infused with gratitude.
Yes, I call it sacred intention, and I've been doing an intention practice for as long as I can remember now, which obviously is not, but I mean at least the last 15 or 16 years since I got into this work. And it's one of the first things, even in my mystery school, in almost every single coaching course, healing, transfer, whatever that I teach. One of the first things that I always say is the intention behind, and your intention in the morning. And I even set intentions before I go to bed for things I want to come in my dreams and information I want to get and things like that, is one of the most powerful things that you do. And I love that this is one of your gratitude practices. I've never actually thought of it as a gratitude practice, but of course it does create, and it is along those same lines. And when we speak, words are one thing, but what's the intention behind your words? You can have somebody say the exact same sentence and have two different intentions behind it, and it'll come across completely differently.
I'll have to start the nighttime intention setting. That's next level. I love that. Thanks for that tip.
Yeah, yeah. When you before you go to bed, I call it overnight oats, because you ever made the oatmeal, or like where you put it in the refrigerator and it cooks overnight, and then you
Yes.
bring it out in the morning. Well, it's the same thing. So if I want to get an answer about a business project or something that's going on in a relationship or anything like that, and when I travel at night, right? So I do a lot of, I'm in other dimensions, I'm traveling, I got other things going on too. But if I set an intention to receive, or that I need an answer to this, and what is the next step in this, these types of things, like setting that before I go to bed. And then when I wake up in the morning, I'll have these ahas, or sometimes during the next day, or something in my world will rearrange to make sure that I get the answer.
Yes, I think I do like maybe like a first grade level of
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
because like whether it's even like something like a book title or something to do with like we're going to have a major meeting with an author or interpersonal, and I'll just think I don't quite know what to do, and like I'll say I'll sleep on it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'll wake up in the morning, and oftentimes what I thought my decision was is completely different because my unconscious and my my dreaming, sleeping mind figured it out for me. And so that's
Yeah, very, very. It's the same principle, right? Except what I do, like
exactly.
what you do in the morning with the gratitude practice, and writing the things down. I write it down before I go to bed. I have a journal, and I write down the exact. And sometimes I'll do it like not just one night in a row. It's usually like 3 nights, right? 3 nights in a row
Yeah.
if it's something I'm really stuck on, and do that type of thing. So I'd love to know, like, so you do the intention setting. You've done the simple gratitude practice in the morning. What are some of the other practices and things that you do? Because you talk about mindfulness and affirmations, and even that intentional, not just setting an intention, but intentional thinking. So take us through like your practice in your days in your gratitude, your badass gratitude.
Yes, yes. Well, we already know that like when I'm still laying down in the morning, I get started with the intention setting, and part of that is thinking about what I'm grateful for and who I'm grateful for. I think that like thinking about the people in your life, like of course your loved ones and your family, but like friends, coworkers, like associates, like thinking about them and just like sort of having a reflective moment of gratitude towards them, and then just sending that out as well, because we all need as much good energy as we can get. Then, of course, like, jumping into the day. But I always take little moments, and like I said, like, take a moment to think of three things you're grateful for. That's especially important when you're having a little bit of a rough day or something unexpected came at you, which is happening to us all every single day. I mean, we just live in such stressful times. So one of the things I think about is like, how can I ramp up the gratitude when it's in a world where it's hard to be grateful all the time because the news is so bad. I mean, if you turn on the daily news, like,
Mm,
within 5 minutes, you're so triggered and stressed out. Like it's hard to be grateful, but even still, like you can, because you think, okay, that is that, I remember a couple of weeks ago when we thought there was, might be like a nuclear action against another country, right? And I remember thinking, like, oh my goodness, like what in the world? Like how can this even be? But I caught myself and sort of and didn't start doom scrolling, and I didn't allow myself to like start doom thinking. I just thought, okay, I'm gonna send like good energy towards that so that that doesn't happen, and just assume that it's crazy talk and that
mhm,
it'll get better, and that like, peace can happen. It can, even if it seems impossible. And so I sent as much positivity towards that as I could.
mhm,
And then I went on with my day, and I continued my day with an attitude of gratitude. Also, something that's very important is to show I think gratitude and giving go hand in hand, and not just in the holidays and not just on Thanksgiving, but it's important to show appreciation, which is gratitude towards the people in your life. Literally take a moment and just say, one of the things I really appreciate about you is X, Y, or Z.
mhm,
And that can make a huge difference in our work lives and our daily busy work lives, to just at the beginning of a meeting show appreciation. It'll shift the energy and like the vibration and make it so much higher. And then that sort of builds. Like you start something, and then the other people can pick that up and take it higher.
mhm. Yeah, I love that we're saying gratitude and then we're saying appreciation is another way. So gratitude I'm saying I'm grateful for these things that I have in my life. Or the experiences or that. And then appreciation is kind of like giving the gratitude. You're like, hey, here's my little box of gratitude and I'm handing it to you. They've done the science behind both gratitude and the science of giving, and both of them show just incredible, amazing things that can change. Right, so it rewires the brain. Literally, these types of things, you rewire your brain. So this isn't something where we're talking about and saying, "Oh, like let's just have this gratitude practice because it makes me feel good." It rewires your brain. It reduces stress and anxiety. It improves your heart health. And it even boosts like your immunity and your physical health. These are all things that happen. And then of course, what happens from that? You have better connections, better social bonds, ways that you connect with other people, and all of that together, you're going to live longer, happier lives, right? So what have
Very
you
much so.
yeah. And so when you think of all this scientific study behind this, now you've been doing the gratitude practice for a long time, like what changed in your life and what did you notice for yourself over the years, moving towards like, oh, the more gratitude I have, like I was, feeling better, or I had these other experiences, or things started flowing differently for me.
I will say that I include the very thing you talk about in Badass Gratitude, the science of it,
Well, we're going to
because
dive even more into that too. Yeah.
it's important for people to know it's not just fluffy, positivity. It's real and like it's
Hmm.
scientifically proven. And so I will say that actually about 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, which is of course scary to all
Hmm.
of us. But I never felt doomed or whatever, and I'm not even sure why. I just believed like that I would work with my doctors, both Western and both Western and Eastern medicine. And I always just sort of had this calm center that I was going to make it through it, listen, work with like the experts and the physicians, but also like even deepen my spirituality. And
Hmm.
so that's when I really got into affirmations. And when there was like a one of the surgeries, like I think the doctor said, now you need to take a month off from work, which was hard for me because I have Mars in Capricorn. um, but I did because that's what they said. And so I spent a lot of time at my favorite little coffee shop, and I was reading, of course, a lot and writing. And then I thought, I'm going to give affirmations a try. And so I literally wrote them down on like the napkins that I got at the coffee shop, and I collected them and I still have them. And I noticed that like the writing affirmations for myself, particularly around like my health and my future and sort of self-support, if you will, self-love. I noticed that that really made a profound difference. And I was sort of surprised because I hadn't taken affirmations that seriously, but I had time to explore other
Hmm.
things because I wasn't working for a month in recovery. And I'll be darned, but like the simple act of writing affirmations out for myself, really thinking about them, doing all the things they say, put them on the refrigerator, like put them on your laptop, put them on the mirror. It really made a difference because I think it like sort of imprinted on me, like not just my consciousness, but also my unconsciousness. So I was infused with that. I was affirming myself and in such a way that I was almost like like almost like I had like an exoskeleton, if you will. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but an exoskeleton of self-affirmation and self-belief.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and I honestly believe that that helped me survive. And so I've been in recovery for like probably 19 years.
Right. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I'm in the study of working with DNA and the energy field. So I just finished my master's in the science of consciousness and human potential, and moved on to do this next thing. And what we know to be true about how DNA works and our energy fields is those that the repeatedness of this, right? The affirmations and things like that. It's listening to you at your very core level, and so the entire DNA starts to rewire and rework. So the genes create these. It can create over 3,000 different proteins that can either create dis-ease or harmony. And so whatever was happening in your body, the genes were creating the dis-ease, but because you rewired your system through the affirmations and the gratitude all the way down to the DNA level, the genes then when they're creating new proteins, they're creating this new experience, right? And also like when you do that, you have pockets of trauma in our energy fields, right? Our energy fields have these like dark spots and pockets. And so like literally when you said an exoskeleton, you were literally bolstering up your energy field so that nothing else, and clearing everything out that wasn't good, that old stuff, and so that nothing else could get in. So you literally did. You created yourself a gratitude exoskeleton. I love it.
Wow, I love that. Okay, that's going to be in the next book.
Yeah, so amazing. So, so much of many people's experiences really coming from these unconscious thought patterns that they're replaying every day, right? And
Yeah.
one of the things that you go through in your book, you get into the science of this, and so I'd love to dive more deeper into the science side of things and talk about, because I know the people that are listening to this podcast, they're high achievers, they're looking for, the real, they want the real stuff behind it, like, why should I really start this practice? And so what are some of the things that you notice when it comes to the unconscious thought patterns? And, do you have any stories or anything you can share from stories that you've heard?
Yes. Well, actually, I wanted to address like the opposite. So we
Cool.
know that, I talked about like discovering the power of affirmations, like for myself and with my healing from cancer. And I would say my healing, like, the whole rest of my life and why I'm still here, like in remission 19 years later and planning to be here many more decades. But I have friends that will put themselves down, negative self-talk.
Mm,
And I will listen to them and not interrupt them, even though I want to say, don't say that. But I'll
hmm.
listen to them. And like one of them, this was I think a couple of years ago, like she was saying, I'm just really bad with money. I'm terrible with money. So I listened to her and I said, I would like you to say that differently in the future because you are literally telling your brain, instructing it to be bad with money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're going to have real, like, if you think you're having financial problems now, wait until you basically retrain your brain to be bad with money because you're saying, I am bad with money, and you will be. So I said, please reframe that because when you say things like that, when you put yourself down, the negative self-talk is literally in an instruction to your mind to like, okay, this is what we do now. And I said, I know you don't want that. And I said, you're actually not bad with money. And so I think you should say, I'm better with money every day. And I'd known that because I worked with Donna Markova, who she lives in Hawaii and she's a PhD in I think neuroscience. And like she was the one she works with the physics of consciousness in the same way that you do. And like she was saying like she was explaining why like how the brain works and like the positive self-talk do that all day long. Negative self-talk, don't do it because you are retraining your brain to
Yeah.
whatever it is that you're saying and thinking.
Yep. Yeah, you absolutely are. And that's such a key as you literally, the words that you speak and the things that you think and the things that you say affect your DNA, they affect your energy field, and they affect your subconscious thoughts in your brain, and they will really literally, they can wire your brain in a different way. So what happens when someone starts interrupting these negative mental loops consistently? And do you have a recommendation with your practices? Like how long every day that somebody practices? Because I'm like, give me 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm a 5-minute person too, but in some cases, like especially like when I was facing my health challenge, like I would be more in like the 15 minutes and sometimes if a half hour if I felt like I really needed it. So I would say
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
have like, flow with like what your needs are, but on most any day it can be 5 minutes and you're good to go.
Yeah, I tell people, I call it the 15-1-1 process. I said, if you can give people 15 minutes, you give yourself 15 minutes a day, right, of whatever your practices are, at least that consistently, because the key is consistency, right? That's
Yes.
the key. The key is not like I do 1 hour or 2 hours on Monday and don't do anything again until Sunday, right? That doesn't work. You're better off like if I'm going to go to the gym and be a bodybuilder, I need to go more than once every 2 weeks, right? And so it's the same, the consistency every day. And so I say 15 minutes a day, 1 hour a week, and then I say one day a month. I call it your live as if day, like live into that, But I say even if you can't do 15 minutes, or if you can do it like those 5 minutes throughout the day, because when you start to shift these things, it's exponential. It's like, it doesn't maybe not show up right away, but if you look out back 6 months, you're like, oh, that changed, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so when someone starts to interrupt these negative mental loops, what happens for them?
What happens with them, and it can start gradually, and then you can see it like just build and build and build, but they're going to see a difference in their lives. And I would say that I don't think it's that my friends like are especially like negative on themselves. I do have a lot of friends, but I listen to them, I really pay attention, and so that's when I would pick up on the negative
Mhm.
self-talk and then just try to very gently correct them. And I literally quote Donna Markova. Of course, she's like a great one to quote. But like, so it wasn't like it was me being bossy with them. I was quoting like a great expert, like a PhD, and let's go back to my friend Nan, who was the one that was like, I'm bad with money, like,
Did
blah,
she
blah, blah,
finally
blah.
change her pattern and decide to do something different?
She actually has accumulated a good deal of wealth and bought a house
Ah,
in
see?
California. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give Donna Markova the credit because I was able to quote her. Donna Markova has like a beautiful saying. She says, "Don't say that because your soul remembers it." So when you put
Mm,
yourself down, don't say that blank, blank, blank about yourself because your soul remembers it. Then, like, she would go on to explain how, the neuroscience of it worked. But like, I locked onto that because I could feel the truth of it. I could feel in my DNA the truth of it.
yeah.
And so in Nan's case, it took like I would say, weeks for her to like get over the habit because you're basically overwriting
Hmm.
a bad habit, right? So it took her a while to like make the shift, but boy, she did. And she's doing great now. And I'm so happy for her. And she's a reminder to me to like take my own advice.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the beauty of it is that we can have these things. So I have some people out there that might still be a little cynical and say, or critical and be like, okay, but this sounds like a lot. And what would you recommend for someone that's like, the corporate, the CEO, the doctor, the lawyer, they're all stressed out and they're always running around and they're doing all the things and everything. And they're like, okay, I'm going to try this gratitude thing, but give me the simplest thing that you got for me to just start with. Which of the practices would you recommend?
For a busy CEO and a stressed out executive, or like, college student mom, whatever it is, I would say take take literally one moment out of your busy day, stop yourself and think of one thing you're grateful for and make it a different thing every day. Maybe it could be high noon, at noon, like 1 minute of gratitude. Make it a different thing every day. And I think that I think they'll, even the most cynical among us will be like, okay, like in the following moment they did feel better. Then that will build gradually and gradually, and they'll probably start doing more than 1 minute and more than
Yeah.
one thing
Yeah.
after a few days.
So what's the difference between, for those that might, what's the difference between gratitude and positivity?
Well, I know there's like, the concept of toxic positivity out there. I actually address that in Badass Gratitude too, because that is just toxic positivity is just like almost like putting blinders on and like not even looking at reality or not even looking at like what's going on in the world or around you, and just like sort of just like spouting out like positive sayings and things like that. This is not what I'm talking about at all. Like, badass gratitude is authentic. It has to come from your very core. It has to come from your soul, your mind, your heart. It has to be you, who you really are. And like I mentioned, like I was, 20 years ago, like facing a challenge and sitting in a cafe and just sort of like actually like I would say a little bit lost at the very beginning,
Mhm.
and then I started writing out my affirmations, which didn't immediately wasn't an overnight sensation. It took some days and weeks before I noticed and was able to track the difference. Um, but it has to come from you, like the deepest part of you. Like who are you really? What are you really grateful for?
Mhm.
And I would actually ask you that question right now.
Mm. Man, have a thousand things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my beautiful home and my big backyard. I'm grateful for all of the amazing conversations that I get to have doing this and the people that I get to meet. I'm grateful. I have my fifth book coming out this year, and it's a co-author, and we just had our call today with everyone for this incredible experience. And I brought together some of the most incredible leaders from all over to join me together in that. I'm grateful for my health. I'm super freaking healthy. I hike and run, do mountains and all that kind of stuff. And I'm grateful for my family and my community. I mean, I could go on for days, so I'll just stop there.
I love that. I'm so glad I asked. And I can see that you're beaming with health. I love
Yeah.
that. And actually,
Yeah.
thought your home is beautiful. What I can see of it, like right at the
Mm.
beginning, I was like, I like the
Yeah.
energy in your space.
Thank you. Yeah, I've recently moved in here and I'm still getting things together, but it's like, you know that feeling of when you finally feel like you've come home.
Yes.
So I moved from California in 2022 to Portugal for a year. And then after that, I went to Ohio for 9 months to try to bring my partner down to Austin. And so, and all of that, I kind of like the place I was in Portugal really wasn't home. I knew it wasn't going to be long term. Ohio wasn't home. And then when I moved to Austin, I rented a furnished place for like 15, 16, 17 months. So the first 17 months that I was living here, I was in a furnished apartment. So it wasn't actually mine, you know? So now I'm in my home, and that feeling of like, that's such a gratitude to that. And so I'm like taking my time to do all the yummy little things and the frequencies of it and all this stuff. So, but
Yes.
I want to return the question to you, Brenda. What are you grateful for?
This will sound like a funny answer to you, but I decided that I was going to go get myself a triple oat milk latte today because I was so looking forward to this conversation. Normally, I just have like a cup of black coffee, homemade black coffee, but I was
Mm,
like, today is special. I'm going to get up a little early so I can have that latte. And I have to drive to get to the favorite place.
yeah.
So got to my car and I stood up and I just looked around and I noticed what a beautiful day it was that I'm grateful for. And then I noticed that one of my neighbors, like up the hill, put a statue of an alien on top of their house. And I was like, when did that go up? I mean, I think it might have been
Yeah.
last night. I think it literally might have been last night. And I just looked at it and it like really just like delighted me to no end. It was such a quirky, fun thing to do. And I stopped and took a photograph of it and I sent it to a couple of people and I said, I have a cool new neighbor. Check out my cool new neighbor. So I felt I was like really like in the moment. Like that's an important thing to do too, is to just truly be truly present in the moment.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so I was, and I saw something completely unexpected. It does make me really want to meet my neighbor. I mean, literally the person who lives in the house that the
Yeah,
conversation is
yeah, yeah. If
on
you don't know
top.
your neighbor, I'd be for sure knocking on their door now too.
I think tonight they're gonna get like some cook me delivering cookies, and so I was just grateful for that because it was completely unexpected, and
Mm,
like I actually did send a photograph to my husband, and I said because he went for a walk this morning.
yeah.
And I said, "Did you see this?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Well,
Mhm.
here's photographic proof that it exists." And I said, I just love it." I said, "I think we have a new neighbor. Let's go meet the neighbor." So
Mm,
I know that's a funny little story, but it literally like just happened a
yeah.
little bit ago, and it was so out of left field and so delightful. And so I was just sort of in that moment, be glad to be alive and present in that moment, so that I could see something new and unexpected and fun and delightful.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about being in presence, right? Like if I am in my head, stressed out, not thinking, whatever, I'm not present to the beauty around me. So if I can start to practice that gratitude and be in that even just for a moment. As I'm in that, then I become present in that moment, and then I see other things that I can be grateful for. It's like taking this the internal, like the windshield wipers, and like cleaning off the dirty windshield where everything is, and be like, oh, I can finally see. And there's so much beautiful things out there to be that, and that it's like an exponential effect of like, if I take that moment and I stop to have gratitude that I'm going to get my oatmeal latte, and then I'm in that space, and then all of a sudden I have space for more gratitude to come in, then these other things start happening, and then now you're going to meet your neighbor.
Exactly. And the
Yeah.
statue is like 15 feet tall, so I think it took at least two people to get it up there. So I think
It's
there's probably two neighbors.
wow, that's really incredible. Yeah. So let's talk about your book. If you guys go to the show notes below, you're going to see the link to get Deborah. Oh my gosh, to get Brenda's.
Brenda.
I don't know where that came from. To get Brenda's book, Badass Gratitude. So you can walk us through a little bit. Is it a journal or is it just a book?
It's a book,
Okay.
but I direct you to like where to like get gratitude journaling pages. They're for free. And
Yeah.
what's interesting is that like very often people will call me Deborah. So I think I had a very recent significant life as a Deborah, and a lot of people pick it up. I mean, dozens of people. So
Okay. I don't feel so bad
I'll
then because I'm like, I don't know where that came from.
yeah, or maybe that's the neighbor, the new neighbor lady,
You'll have to
who's
let me know.
interesting. Yeah, but like I will answer to Deborah too. I'm not kidding. Like dozens of times in my life where I'm like, yeah, okay, of course that is the name that came through. So, but I start off talking about like my childhood and badass gratitude
Mm,
because I was born on up a holler in West Virginia. Like a dirt road and like very modest circumstances and which but I didn't know because I was a kid. I all I knew was that I loved like the farm and the beautiful land and the forests and the brooks and the ponds and everything and the trees. um and so I talk about like how I learned to be grateful from my very elderly great aunts and great uncles who had survived the Great Depression. And like they would talk about the Great Depression like probably every day. They would make some reference to it, like and talking about being thrifty and things like that, not wasting anything, like the importance of being able to raise your own vegetables and food and everything like that, which I agree with wholeheartedly. And I've been gardening since I was probably like 5 or something. But I talk about like the simple origins and those people that survived the Great Depression, man, they were grateful.
mm,
They were
mm.
so grateful. And again, like just for like simple things to have like food, to have shelter, to
Yeah.
have like, to be able to gather together and share a meal. Like I think what they had been through in the Great Depression, like I think that that and I think that like that in like engendered in them like just a true appreciation for the most simple things in life, and that really made an impression on me as a child. So it's not like it's my biography, of being mentored by like the depression survivor aunts and uncles or anything like that. I just start there because that's really where it started for me
Mm.
in my life. And
Yeah.
then I talk about there's some definitely some storytelling, but mostly I sort of go into the philosophy of why gratitude is important and why it's not just some little fluffy thing that people like put on their Facebook posts or whatever. It's something very real, it's something very profound, it's something very deep. And when you can like tap into that for yourself, it will steady you. It will steady you for the whole of your life. It can be like a rudder.
Yeah. Well, and in addition to that, Understanding that when we look at the science behind it, there were two recent studies on gratitude. One said that a single act of gratitude can produce an immediate 10% increase in happiness and a 35% reduction in depressive symptoms. That's better than the medicine you're taking, people.
Yes, yes.
35%. Like, wow. And a 2024 study, so very recent, of 49,000 older women found that high levels of gratitude were associated with a 9% lower mortality rate. So the more gratitude you have, the longer you're going to live. And I know for me, like I'm 48, I'm going to be a centurion. I got a lot of time, so I need lots of gratitude to get there.
Yes. Well, I can see you already have it.
Yes. And so do you. Oh my goodness. So I want everyone to go to the show notes below, grab the book Badass Gratitude. It's under, so is this book under your pen name also?
Yes, Becca
Okay,
Anderson.
so the book is under Becca Anderson, her pen name, but it's written by Brenda Knight. And so I always end our podcast with the same question, kind of a genre, because this is High on Life podcast. And so what does high on life mean to you?
Higher life means to me like aspiring to be at the highest vibration you can be. And of course, we don't like just wake up in the morning and they're there. It's like a consciousness thing. And then also it means sharing that. That's very important also with like badass gratitude, like the concept of gratitude. You've got to share it and speak it to your people. So I think like just like aspire to be like love in human form.
I love that. Yes. So, everybody, if you're listening right now, Badass Gratitude, what I want you to do is we're going to just take a moment and I want you to say out loud, I don't care if you're in public or in the shower, wherever you're at listening to this podcast right now, say out loud one thing that you're grateful for. I heard it. Amazing. Thank you so much, Brenda, for sharing your gratitude and affirmations with us today.
Thank you. My pleasure. And I'm so grateful for you.
And I'm so grateful for you. Bye bye.
Bye.